It's the late 1910s, and German chemists first create a new compound called 3,4-methylene dioxymethamphetamine, or MDMA for short. At the time, it's just a lab experiment, but by the 1970s, it becomes known worldwide as ecstasy or Molly. Psychologists called it an empathogen, a substance that made you feel deep emotional connection and trust. It was originally researched as a tool for psychotherapy because it made patients more open, talkative, and connected to their emotions. By the late 1980s, it found its way into underground clubs and soon became the ultimate party pill. The moment Molly enters your bloodstream, it causes a massive release of serotonin, your brain's feel-good chemical. Within an hour, the effects hit. Your body surges with energy, colors look brighter, music feels deeper, and suddenly, you love everyone around you. Strangers become your best friends, and the whole world feels connected. It sounds amazing, right? But here's the problem. After the high fades, your brain is left drained and empty. Users often crash into depression, anxiety, and memory problems. Other side effects include dehydration, seizures, and even death. Even today, MDMA sits in a strange place. It's banned as an illegal drug, yet researchers are cautiously bringing it back in clinical trials to treat PTSD, especially in soldiers and trauma survivors. In 1874, a London chemist named C.R. Alder Wright first creates a new chemical by tweaking morphine, but it's not until 1898 that the pharmaceutical giant Bayer begins mass-producing this new drug. They give it a name meant to inspire confidence: heroin, because test subjects claimed it made them feel heroic. At first, it seems like a wonder drug. Doctors prescribe it for coughs, colds, even children's illnesses. Ads literally promoted heroin as a non-addictive substitute for morphine. But inside the body, heroin is quickly converted back into morphine, binding to opioid receptors and unleashing a powerful wave of euphoria, making it instantly addictive. Users who took it for pain relief found themselves craving it long after their illness was gone. Tolerance built rapidly, meaning the same dose no longer worked. By the early 1900s, hospitals began to notice patients couldn't stop using it. The side effects were devastating, from respiratory depression to collapsed veins and severe infections from repeated injections. By 1924, the United States banned heroin for medical use, and other countries soon followed. But instead of disappearing, heroin moved underground and became one of the most abused street drugs of the 20th century. It's 1982, and you're a young college student in California looking to get high. You hear whispers about a new kind of synthetic heroin being cooked up just like the real thing, but supposedly cleaner, safer, and harder for the police to trace. You scrape together some money, score a batch, and take it. For a while, everything feels normal, until suddenly it doesn't. Within days, you wake up in the hospital, staring at the ceiling. Your eyes can move, but your body can't. You're completely frozen inside your own body. The cause was a chemical contaminant called MPTP. When underground chemists tried to copy a legal painkiller called meperidine, they accidentally created this deadly byproduct. Here's the terrifying part. MPTP crosses into the brain and selectively destroys dopamine neurons in the substantia nigra, the exact cells that control movement, the same cells that are lost in Parkinson's disease. But instead of decades of slow decline, MPTP wipes them out almost overnight. Doctors were stunned. Perfectly healthy young people, some only in their 20s, were suddenly locked into bodies that behaved like those of 80-year-old Parkinson's patients. They became known as the frozen addicts. In fact, one famous case was documented in Santa Clara, California, where several friends all ended up completely paralyzed after taking the same contaminated batch. They could still think and feel, but they couldn't move or speak. The tragedy was horrifying, but it also gave scientists a grim opportunity. By studying MPTP, researchers gained new insights into Parkinson's disease, using it to develop animal models that are still used in research today. Picture this. Some years after World War II, hospitals were packed with patients suffering from chronic pain, and doctors were under pressure to prescribe something effective, but safer than morphine and heroin. Introducing Propoxyphene, marketed in 1955 under the brand name Darvin, and later combined with acetaminophen as Darvocet, it was hailed as the gentle opioid. Advertisements promised pain relief without any risks. And for decades, doctors handed it out by the millions. But here's the catch. Propoxyphene was never actually very effective at treating pain. Studies later showed it was barely stronger than a sugar pill. Yet despite its weak benefits, its dangers were off the charts. Even at recommended doses, Propoxyphene could cause the heart's electrical rhythm to go haywire. Sometimes just 1 or 2 extra pills could trigger a fatal arrhythmia. Unlike drugs that slowly destroy health, Propoxyphene had the terrifying ability to kill instantly and without warning. For years, doctors observed a troubling pattern: healthy patients dying suddenly from unexplained cardiac arrest. Only later did investigators uncover the link to Darvin and Darvocets. A Japanese chemist named Nagai Nagayoshi synthesizes a powerful new stimulant called methamphetamine, later known as meth, marketed as a medical stimulant under brand names like methadone and desoxin. Doctors prescribed it for everything from asthma and narcolepsy to depression and even weight loss. Yes, people were literally handed meth to help them diet. Then came World War II. Both Axis and Allied forces turned to meth to fuel their soldiers. German troops were given pills called Pervitin, which soldiers said it made them feel invincible, sharper, faster, and stronger. But once the drug wore off, they crashed into exhaustion and paranoia. So how does it work in the body? Meth triggers an explosive release of dopamine, the reward chemical that makes you feel pleasure, confidence, and drive. Users describe an almost supernatural rush. Energy surges, euphoria takes over, and fatigue disappears. It's like flipping a switch that turns you into a different person. But the cost is brutal. The dopamine flood overstimulates and burns out your brain. Over time, this rewires the brain, making it nearly impossible to feel joy without the drug. The side effects read like a horror story: extreme paranoia and hallucinations, aggression and violent outbursts, rapid aging and physical decay, and sleep deprivation psychosis. By the time meth takes hold, the damage is almost impossible to reverse. Brain scans of former users show permanent holes in dopamine pathways, meaning even years after quitting, many struggle with depression, memory loss, and emotional control. So if you ever thought of taking meth, don't. And if you do take, well, it might already be too late for you. Anyways, thanks for watching.